and restart the recording. There we go. YouTube won't have to be privy to any of that. I'm just gonna draw a little bit continually so it doesn't freaking go into sleep mode and throw the whole thing off again. I guess I know how to fix it now. It's been a while since I've used this. Well, a month, I guess, because I've been overseas. But we're going to be doing some drawing today. So I'm sorry about the lack of streams. First of all, I got the day wrong. Tuesday was sacrificed to family. Thursday, I had a terrible realization. Because of family stuff, I was nervous about getting taken away from my stream. I was worrying about getting stuck in, stuck in cutscene hell, playing Metaphor. I also looked it up, and unfortunately I was right. I had said I'd theorized that there was probably maybe a month or so of the game left, because I felt like getting all of the social links done by that point was unreasonable, and unfortunately I was correct. Which I hate. So there's still like 30 hours left. And so the plan is still to try and bum rush it, but it'll have to start next week. Streaming Thursdays and Fridays until Sundays, excuse me. That was a slip of the tongue. Until we just get it done. Because I'm done with the game. I'm so done with it. I'm so sick of it. But I'm too far in. I'm in too deep. I'm too into the sunk cost fallacy. So I didn't feel comfortable streaming that day. And then I had an idea. Well, I had several ideas. See, I have a D&D home game. And I'm going to be doing a D&D one-shot in February. That's the plan anyway. And I plan to draw some of the NPCs, because not just the NPCs, but the player characters. For my home game, I use AI art, and I'm not really worried about that, because it's a home game, it's not streamed, so I don't feel like it's hurting anyone. So, and I did all the art for the book that I wrote, the D&D book that's coming out in February. I just finished. I did all the art for it, so my art skills have been steadily building. I wouldn't call myself an artist. Don't expect anything professional today. In fact, if you are professional, you should probably leave, because you're not going to see things you like. You're probably going to see some amateur art sins committed. Some digital crutches. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, hey, I can probably stream that. Prime the pump a little bit, get people more used to the idea of me making D&D content. So it doesn't just completely come out of nowhere. I've talked about it before, but you know, I'm getting new subscribers all the time, but the VODs don't necessarily get a lot of views. So there's things I talk about that I only mention it once or twice, no one knows about it. I want people to try and be as prepared for it as they can be. And then I remembered something. This week, since I wasn't streaming, I was going over what else do I need to do? What's on my to-do list? What can I get done? And I remembered that I'm getting married next year. And for my bachelors, I wanted to give them a poster of their D&D characters. And I had to find an artist to commission, and I did some surface level research, and I was a bit worried, because I already knew, since it had several people in it, it was going to be very expensive. And then I realized, I just drew a bunch of D&D OCs for my book. I drew a bunch. I can draw them myself, or at least I can try to. So that's going to be the plan. So what I'm going to do a little bit of a framing first. So this is their ship. This is their ship. I drew it. I drew it years ago now. And so it's going to be, the scene, as it were, is going to be in this room. So we have 7 characters to worry about. First of all, just to get this out of the way, let me go ahead and do this. let me just go ahead and do this. We're going to commit, well, as I say, we're going to do a little bit of a sin. I drew this, so we're gonna remake reality a little bit. There's a staircase in the middle here. We're going to destroy the staircase. For the sake of framing the scene and fitting everyone in the frame, we're going to destroy the staircase. It's supposed to be a sort of daily life. And so it needs to be a big space where they can all fit together. I had thought at one point to do the table over here. I thought to do the table, but then I was worried about it looking too much like the Last Supper, and that's not what I want. But there's a second reason too. So there's 7 characters in the party, but there was a pretty major death in the party a little while ago. Oh, and this is probably worth mentioning. If you don't know already, I do One Piece D&D, so this is all One Piece themed, and that's gonna come back. I wrote Pirates and Power Holders. Oh yeah, I meant to get that bot set up. Oh well, the bot's not gonna be set up today. It'll be set up for the next time we do this, whenever we do this again. But if you're watching on YouTube, links would be in the description. So I wrote One Piece D&D book, Pirates and Power Holders, a few years ago, and the one I'm writing now, Pirate's Guide to the Sky, which is obviously an expansion into the Cloud Sea, the White Sea. It's all One Piece themed. So this is a pirate crew. But they had a pretty major death in the party. And his wanted poster is hanging up right here. And he also has like a crown that's nailed up there too. And so I wanted that to be center frame. It's saturation. Because technically there have been 2 deaths in the party, but one of them was just quite literally the last session we did before we went on Christmas break, holiday break, I guess. Since it includes Thanksgiving. And also that character is a little bit of the player was chronically absent, so. His death was also scripted. So this was a pretty major death of a character that had been there since the beginning. He had been there since the beginning in what had been kind of a rotating roster. So I really want him to be center frame. So, to paint the scene, like I said, we have 7 characters. In the middle, we use different characters to represent them. They're going to be playing a board game here in the middle. So one of the characters is going to be here. And the reason I'm sketching this out is so we can maybe restructure this later, because I'm just imagine this in my head to this point. He's going to be playing specifically Ticket to Ride, because that's been a running joke. Which is being weird. Welcome back. They're going to be playing a board game here. Sitting cross-legged on the floor. And then, let's see. I'm doing the ones I know first. Another character, I planned for her to be sitting all the way over here, but we can move her if we need to. Drinking a cup of coffee. Then another character, the cruise chef, I planned to be... I forgot about the orientation of this table. I planned for her to be like here-ish. Standing. Like giving off the cup of coffee. Another character is going to be over here. I guess this one's going to actually have He's going to be laying down, asleep. And the last one, I'm a bit torn. Between having him in the doorway, but I think I might have him be over here. He's a bard, so he would be playing his lute. So, and then the last character is kind of the wild card. He's small, so I can kind of put him anywhere. He's a rogue, so my idea is that he's going to be in the window, in the kitchen window back here. Like, sort of climbing out of it. That's the idea. But we're not going to be drawing any of the actual characters today. My idea is that I'm going to draw the backdrop first, and then we draw the characters individually and then impose them into the frame afterwards. So it very much is one thing at a time. But that's the idea. Yeah, here we have that in the center. So I'm going to put this here. Or no, let's do this. Let's just make it go away. I'll probably need to grab more references later. But this is what we're working with right now. Make it a slight brown in case it comes back later. So this will be the most ambitious project I've done. So I've drawn, well, obviously I literally drew the ship. So I've drawn locations, and I've drawn characters. I've yet to draw a character in a location. So this will be... something, that's for sure. Hold on. We're going back to the first Thanksgiving. Get turkeys off the menu. I figure we'll probably do... art streams could become a more regular feature of the channel, depending on how things go. But for now, I figured it'd be a nice little treat. And kind of an easy thing to do to supplement the lack of content lately. We're doing Persona 4 Lo-Fi, if you're wondering for the music. I usually listen to the Persona 4 soundtrack when I'm editing, if I listen to anything. So, this. Get an exact mirror. I have to unflip my laptop. I'm using a Chromebook. So I have to flip and unflip it to get the, you get Control C, Control V. This will probably make things... Why isn't this working? Come on. There we go. Make it apparent if it weren't obvious already. I know everyone's kind of like this if you do digital art, so it's not that big of a deal, but this is another thing. Always using the ruler tool gets laggy sometimes. I don't love the ruler tool in this software, precisely because you see it moves with the screen. The software I had before this didn't do that. There we are. Luckily, we're not an architect, so it doesn't have to be quite exact. There we go. At least the right side turned out perfect. This side more. There we go. Okay. This does answer something for me. I don't like the I don't like the ratio. I'm going to do 4,000 by 1,000? That's maybe a little too much. It's just, this is so... I can't imagine 7 characters fitting in this space. That being incredibly crowded. Then maybe 1,500? That's better, I think. In post, it probably will be... The canvas will probably have its size increased downwards, so I can get it like a label in, and I think maybe I'll try to do character signatures, as if all of the characters had signed it. Like I said, that'll be done in post, so that'll also help make it... What would you say? Make the proportions a bit more reasonable. It'll make the proportions a bit more reasonable when we actually move to post. Like, because these are intended to become like, these are intended to become wall posters. let's experiment with some different colors. That I'll probably have to do. That's weird. I can see it though. I shouldn't really be able to see it unless you're just seeing like. Oh, that's weird. You can see like. Or is that on my screen? That's on my screen. Why can you see it? You should be the same color. Maybe I'm just seeing the screen. Oh well. Doesn't matter anyway, because I did all that out of order. Though if nothing else, at least it gave me a problem I'll have to solve later. Oh. We also have to try and figure out proportions here, so let's give us a sketch layer. Funny thing is, I don't usually deal with sketching, it's just this is kind of what we have to do. Like this here. This would be 8 feet, probably. 8 or 9 feet. Say 9 feet. Because it's D&D, so a lot of them are taller. That means if that's 9 feet, also have to estimate some distances here. Jeez. Thing is, this is a ship, so this wall is like 40 feet, but it's not going to read as 40 feet. That's what I mean when we have to do some serious space warping. Sweet, let's grab some colors. So, where's the center? There's the center. Gonna look a little weird. Fix it later. Just because he's gonna be in the exact center, because he's the captain. He's sitting cross-legged on the floor. Looking like one hand resting his lap, one hand on his face. He's losing the game, so he's not very happy. Next to him, it's also sitting cross-legged. He's shorter, but he's also closer to the foreground, which makes the proportions kind of weird. This guy's like 6'4", but he's in the back and he's closest to the wall. This guy, I think he just like won the game, or he just made a really good play or something, and he's very excited. So he's facing this way. The reason I'm drawing them first is because they're in the exact center, and so that helps me proportion everything out. I'm going to decorate a Christmas tree right now. She handed me a dove ornament, and I was like, here's a pigeon. She's not wrong. Biologically correct. The thing is, the scene... Just like with the staircase, we will adjust the set as need be. This character will actually be standing. She's reasonably close to the camera. And so she'll probably be one of, even though she's not in the middle, she'll be one of the larger ones in the frame. Imagine one hand on her hip. She's the chef, so she's carrying out a tray of food. Looking this way, kind of. So she would be probably in front of the doorway. And I'm seeing on the right side, he'd probably be sort of inner with the doorway as well. This is cool. I feel like I'm storyboarding. This is actually... Same thing with writing. I don't normally write a draft when I'm writing. I normally just start writing and go for it. Which is obviously not what you're supposed to do, but that's typically what I do. You'll be sitting down. Legs crossed. One hand on her cheek. The other hand will be out and on the table. These two are looking at each other. This is basically so far as I imagined it, basically what I thought it would be like. I'm glad you like it. We're not at this part of the process yet, but when we get to it, I'm going to really quickly deactivate the camera just because I don't know if this might not show too much. I don't want to accidentally give more information. But, here, I'll use this one. Before I did this, to prepare for it, when we actually get to the process of making characters and actually drawing them for real, I found a software online that gives me mannequins, so that'll help me draw them out. It will give me a bit of a template for them. But this I actually don't need right now. And I won't need it because we'll draw, it's awesome, yeah. I knew that sort of thing existed, but I was glad to find it. So I found a mannequin poser that'll help me get proportions right. You never draw without references, kids. For me, that usually means I don't draw without having something I can trace. It's probably not obvious at this point, but I normally do... It's funny, when I was a kid... I loved sketching, but I hated actually drawing because I felt like whenever I tried to solidify what I had made into something tangible, it would always be bad. Whereas the sketching process, when it was a bit rough, I always felt like it looked better. I always felt like it looked better. I always hated it. I could never actually do it. But now that I've been doing digital art, I've actually been doing lineless drawing. So like whenever I would add color to the piece, I always felt like it fell apart. I always liked it better in black and white. But now I typically do lineless drawing. I typically do lineless drawing, and I just start like, this is their skin tone, and I draw that as a template. I draw the shape of their face with the color filled in already. And so it's all lineless. I don't typically use lines except for like mouths and things. Which I think makes it really unique, especially... It's not deliberately unique, I just did it because that's kind of how it turned out. It's just kind of how it turned out. Let's see, I don't want him leaning forward a little bit. He's going to be sitting a little closer to the camera. But he's also one of the shortest in the group. But that's... He's looking out towards the group. He's the bard, so he's going to be holding his lute. And so now you see what I mean about the final character. Something I could do, squeeze him in. Like I said, this player is chronically absent. He's also not even one of the bachelors, so I'm kind of okay with him being in the background a little bit. Plus he's a rogue, right? So he's always hiding. So some of these positions will be adjusted slightly. For example, when we make room for the doors. This is something else too. Even if this turns out bad and I don't like it, whatever I do make, I can submit to an actual artist and they can they can use this template for drawing it. So I don't just need to describe it. I can show them, this is what I want, this is what it is. This... Unfortunately, I'm realizing now, I put all, like, the cool colored ones into one corner. So, he is a little dude. I'm actually going to put him in a separate layer so that he can be behind these gals without interfering. So wherever he is, he's going to be like over here. Imagine him like hanging off. Whether he's climbing in or out, I'm not sure. And he has a tail. So I'm not sure whether he'll be climbing in or out. But whether he's climbing in or out, I know he's going to be looking mostly towards the camera, but also slightly this way towards her, because she's the cook. So she would be, she's the one that he'd be trying to hide from. And as the sort of final touch, let's do this first. Unfortunately, I think this character is basically going to be entirely looking sideways. Full side profile. And so then the sort of... We'll use the same color too, because it's the same player, and they're all organized by color, so it actually got a little controversial. Because we did a mini campaign. This is the main campaign. We did a mini secondary campaign, and I used the same token colors. And they're like, but this color doesn't match my new character as well. It's like, yeah, but the color is as much for you guys as it is for your characters. And so the reason I mentioned that is because this character over here, pink is also not a very good color for her, except for the fact that she's a she. But that was the color that matched her previous character. And she was the last one in the group, so she kind of... colors were limited. These two, this one over here, and this one, are NPCs, and so... that's one of the reasons why he's kind of in the corner. Because he is he's not as important, but also... you know... you want everyone to feel kind of included. This kind of behind. So this is another one of the things I mean when I say we're going to stretch reality a little bit. There are going to be several wanted posters on this wall, but this one will probably be slightly bigger than the rest. Just to make a point of, like, this guy's important. He's an elephant. And I'm gonna have a round thing out there. Whoops, I forgot to get rid of this. So there we go. That's the sketch. Which we've been live how long? An hour. Well, 40 minutes. Yeah, we've been live an hour. We've been live an hour. And so this is the kind of template we'll be working with. And so, as we're... let's add some other things. So as we're making the room, as we're decorating it, it will be built... the characters will be built as much around the room as vice versa. If that makes sense. So if the characters need to change to make room for stuff in the room, we can do that. But also, if the room needs to change for the sake of the characters, like it did earlier with removing the staircase, then we'll be doing that too. Just using this for like general room stuff. I don't imagine she's sitting at the end of the table. I imagine she's sitting further along. Although maybe she is sitting at the end of the table. Maybe she is sitting at the end of the table, because that would put her further into the corner, which helps little guy in the back stand out a bit more. You know what? Maybe she is taking the corner seat. I could also move her like up here-ish. The reason I don't like that is because then she's looking backwards rather than forwards towards the camera. So I think I'll just keep it like it is for now. So I can also move her slightly to the right. And I can make her slightly bigger, move her slightly forward. So, and let's do just a little bit of extra. A little bit of extra. So, let's maybe use a pencil. No, that's too loose. Posing. Annoyed. Winning. Happy. I don't want to forget any details either. Sleeping. Practicing. So, I'm actually gonna stopped. He's not actively practicing. It's like he was practicing, but then he stopped and looked over. He is bemused. He's gonna be like, haha, that's funny. He's... serving. Cake. warm. Welcome. Coffee. Motion is grateful. Which is how you know this is how you know the universe has been changed, because she's a selfish little princess. Complete ingrate. I'm allowed to say that because she's an NPC, which makes her my character. I can badmouth her as much as I want. Sneak. Could be nervous because he doesn't want to get spotted. There we go. So I'm gonna leave these guys up for now. The other reason I can stream like this is I can basically do this whenever I want to, because I don't plan on clipping this. I don't feel like there's anything to clip. I guess maybe if I told a really funny story or something, but even then, there's no visuals. Like I said, I normally don't sketch, but I also just don't want anything to go wrong here. That needs to be parallel to the wall. There you are. I mean, that kind of worked. I need to make that a different color, I think. But I mean, that works. Oh, hold on. Let's not get multiple layers caught up in that. There we go. I don't want that to be too orange. Here, we'll do green. That's going to be another thing I'm going to have to continually keep in mind here, is just making sure everything matches the angle of the floor. Doesn't matter. It's a sketch, so it doesn't matter as much. So like a bookcase against that wall. That's kind of what he's sleeping against. I can slightly adjust the dimensions to that as needed, like move that in a little bit, but there's nothing on the shelf, so if I don't want it there, I don't need to have it there. That's the other thing. Reality is malleable. Ooh, I have to be careful. I almost ripped my headphones out. Reality can be whatever I want it to be. Does that sometimes. Okay. Now we can actually get to pod racing. So, oh, new layer. Doors are going to be 6 feet tall. That puts them about there. It might be closer to 7 feet, some of them, but what we definitely don't do is we don't want to make it seem like the doors are too small. It's also, because this is a pirate ship, it's actually okay if it looks a little rough. If the construction looks a little rough. Like, this is a ship, you know? It's not not exactly perfect. Those doors basically came out where I needed them to. I might move them in a little bit, though. What I don't want is I don't want to get super far into this and then realize I've run out of room. There is technically room for the window there. Keep in mind, this guy is probably actually smaller, because he's only 3 feet tall. And he's also furthest back in the picture. And of course, the arrow that's there in this picture is not actually there. Okay, this is coming together so far, actually. I feel silly saying that because I'm just looking at scribbles on a page right now. But I am internally very happy that this has... we have not run into any major hiccups, really, in terms of the landscape of the room, other than, again, getting rid of that staircase. Because there will be other posters on that wall, but they'll be much smaller, because I want that one to be big, front and center, and very obviously visible. And the other thing is I'll probably reuse it once I make it, because I plan on... I say I plan. I plan on doing it, but saying I plan on doing it implies I have a time frame. I don't. At some point, I'm going to redo the initial Pirates and Power Holders. Edit some of the rules, but not many of them, but some of the rules, with just experiencing what I've played these last 3 years. And publish what you could accurately call a final version. But also, I want to do little art pieces for it. Not as much as I did for Pirate's Guide to the Sky. Lord, no. That would be way too much. That would be way too much. It took way too much time. And besides, most of the art pieces were for items and monsters, and the original book doesn't have items or monsters. So it would just be mainly... One of the main reasons I want to do it is specifically to revamp the races section. To make it more in line with what I did Pirate's Guide to the Sky, because it looks a lot nicer. So I'll probably reuse this wanted. Whatever I draw for the wanted poster, I'll probably remake. I'll remake and use for the game. In fact, the book. In fact, I might just use the same one because I still have the template. I'll probably just reuse the template I already have. So why wouldn't I? Just put it in sepia tone for this. We've moved on to Persona 3 Lo-Fi. I would entertain doing Persona 5 because I like the music. Persona 5 is good music. I just don't like Persona 5. But I'm man enough to admit that it has good music. All the Persona games do. There we go. Probably make the kitchen window a bit larger than it would otherwise be. Like that height for the lid. Kitchen window, so definitely longer than it is tall, but not much longer. Boom, 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 boom. Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. I did consider using One Piece music. Now, I did try to find And I did find some One Piece lo-fi. I just didn't like it that much. A lot of the music was just a little too upbeat, a little too active. It would have been distracting me. Sorry, I'm admiring the handiwork now. Now that I've done this, I need to decide what to do next. Probably the thing to do would be to start with the floor. Because the floor would have the least detail, and would also help me... It would help me to, what would you say? Help me to find a scheme that works for everything else. Down below, the water sanctified. And on my... Just gonna do this. It's the floor, other than the board game right there. Other than the board game right there and the chairs over here. The floor is mostly bare, except for there's one carpet here in the corner. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this real easy. Make a circle. And now we're gonna use the perspective tool. I think that's basically right. Perspective tool. It works wonders. In case you didn't notice, these guys, well, they're called their like team name is they're the Deserters. And so they have a dessert theme that goes on here. And so that's why, like, the chairs over here look like diner chairs. The table looks like a big ice cream cone, and the carpets look like ice cream scoops. The idea. And can you see it? You can't see it on here, but their ship is Neapolitan. So different parts of the ship are made with different colors of wood. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, but this room is chocolate. Dessert instead of dessert? Yeah, exactly. At some point, I guess I can probably like do a little sketch, but their Jolly Roger's gonna be here, and it's probably going to be... Imagine it hanging up here. Like that. Something like that. Maybe it'd be like, even like over the doorway a little bit. Something like that. Or maybe your mom's so hungry for ice cream, you're welcome. I could also... I had imagined it being there. It might make more sense for it to be like over here. That might make more sense. Because otherwise this wall is going to be bare. So that might not be the best. Is this wall over here on the other side? This wall actually has decoration. This wall has like a... It has two things. It's got like a fish, like a long fish thing up there. Like a fish diagram, and it also has like a diagram of the ship below it. And this wall is going to have like other posters too. And this one's going to have a big like open sign that's in the original map. Am I forgetting anything? No, that's it. Oh, I guess there are like port windows that'll need to be drawn in. Let's give those a little bit of time a day. When we actually do them, we'll probably use circle tools, but... I think... like one full window and then a part of a window. There we go. So that's the space. Like, fully fleshed out, that's the space. So... what's going to be difficult here... Let's do one more thing. Sorry, the one thing we're doing is I'm going to change this to a different color so I can see better. That's it. That's it. That needs to be a different color so I can see what I'm doing. It's going to be real tricky with some of these guys over here. But I think I can probably... I can work around it. I think I know what to do. I know what to do. I just have to not forget to do it. Anyway. What's gonna be tricky is drawing in the planks. Let's not be... and still be loosely symmetrical. Gonna get rid of those. Move to a smaller pen. I could do like I did with this circle. I just don't really want to. Actually, that is a problem. I hate the idea of this, but it actually might be worth it to actually do what we did with the circle. Just to actually do that and just draw the frick-frackin'... just draw the floor. Just draw the floor and then make it match the perspective afterwards. It feels like cheating, but... I think that's what we have to do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a brand new layer all the way up top. I'm gonna make it pure white. So that way we don't have to worry about it anymore. Like that. Very quickly, make a border. Build a wall. Big and beautiful. A big, beautiful wall. Beautiful border. Beautiful border for the art piece. I don't know how this happened. Not quite what I wanted, but it'll do. Try to keep this as even as I can. Especially once we are actually like to try and give kind of a pattern, but also like it to feel kind of rough. The idea is right, but the execution is all wrong. There we go. That's some digital art magic right there. Some digital art magic. Bum, bum, bum. Da, 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 da. Bum, 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 bum. Ba-da, bum, bum, ba-da, da, da. Bum, bum. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Ba-da, bum, bum, bum. Ba-da, bum, bum, bum. There we are. I assume you can see the vision by now. This will be the floor. Beautiful. Now for the wood grain. Maybe it's because it's bigger. I feel like it's not looking as good as it normally does. Maybe I need to make this pencil larger. Also try something else. Let's try this. This. Lower the opacity. I could try something else. Something I learned while working on one of my other projects is that sometimes less is more. Should I use something other than a pencil? Meaning that sometimes implying the existence of patterns without actually performing the patterns looks better than the alternative. Which I know is weird. Oh yeah, that's something else I can do. Do this. What I'm trying to do is create some natural differentiation among the colors. You see what I mean? It's little things like that, I guess. Probably don't have to put as much effort into that corner. Or I guess the corners in general. I think the corners will be taken care of by the carpet and by the tables. They're not even going to be visible. This will probably be the rest of this. I don't know how long we're going to go. I didn't really have a plan. Just restart? Maybe. I can tell if it restarted or if it's just some of the songs repeat. Oh yeah, okay. It loops twice. I guess I can't be mad about that. There'll also be some additional shading we'll add in a minute. But I mean, a rough sketch of the floor probably isn't bad. The other advantage to this is that this will probably never like work this into the schedule. It'll just kind of be, if I do more of this, it will just be, you know, whenever I can or whenever I feel like it, whenever I work on it. You know, I don't know how much I'm really contributing. Obviously, it's not like... I definitely would not recommend anyone watch these streams for advice or trying to get better. I mean, I've definitely gotten better, but... Never been to art school. I took a bunch of art classes when I was younger. Love the texture, I'm glad. I think I've said it before. My biggest regret is that I stopped drawing when I got to high school. Ironically, I stopped because I didn't feel like I was good enough. But, of course, if I had just kept going, I would be better. It's the irony. But Little West wanted to go to art school. Little West's parents told him that was unrealistic. And he should focus on things that would get him a job. Now, West is unemployed, and he's doing art anyway. But you're going back to drawing now, it's never too late. It's not. And there were times in college when I thought about doing more, but ultimately the reason I never did was because I didn't feel like I had time. Well, I do now. It was a slow... I slowly got my confidence back. First by doing C3TV. Was it C3TV first? Ironically, in a certain way, AI art is kind of what helped me get back into art. And I'll tell you what, it's because I started doing D&D about the time that AI art took off. And so, of course, everyone remembers the early days. AI art still has a lot of problems, but in the early days it was a lot more problematic. And so a lot of times I started using AI art to make D&D tokens. I mentioned that earlier. I started using AI art to make D&D tokens. But there'd be little problems, little blemishes, little details that would be out of place. And so there'd be little things that were out of place. So I got a drawing software, and sometimes I'd put the AI art in the drawing software and make tiny little edits, whether it was like fixing an eye or fixing a hair or just a line that was there for no reason. And then I started C3TV, and I made the set for C3TV that I still have, as well as the little guy that would become my avatar, the little crusader guy for myself and for Wyatt, my co-star. Surprised you didn't audit a class school for drawing. I would not have wanted to be with the art majors in my college. Definitely not. I found them to be insufferable. But, besides, that wasn't really what was on my mind when I was in college. And so that, I guess more of an online class situation, Think about art. Art is very similar to writing. I never felt compelled to take writing classes, even though I've obviously done a lot of writing. And part of the reason for that is because the best way to learn how to write is just to do it. Or maybe more accurately, one of the best ways to learn how to write is just to read. And that'll also teach you more than any class. And same with YouTube, most skills you don't really even need a class for. You can just do it. And the same's true with art. You'll learn as you do it. You learn as you go. The more you do it, the better you'll be. And so, this is my personal opinion. I think if you have to choose between 60 hours of just drawing versus 60 hours of a drawing class, I think you're better off just drawing. Maybe buy a how-to book or something, but honestly, just do YouTube tutorials, man. But I'll tell you, like, how I've learned to do things. Like, for example, this. So, some of these things were drawn. And with digital tools, one of the things I love about digital tools is that with digital tools, if you draw something, you can just draw, and if you don't like how it looks, you can hit the undo button, and then you can draw it a second time. And so, for example, these chairs. I don't remember the last time I had to draw a plastic chair. You know what I did? I just drew the shape. And I drew it, and I redrew it, and I redrew it, and I redrew it over and over and over again until it looked like a plastic chair. And that's all I did. And the same is true of everything in here. I drew it, and if I didn't like how it looked, I redid it. And I did that over and over and over again until it looked like what I wanted it to look like. That's also, for example, I did art for my book, and that it has something like 60 different pieces of art, and some of them are people, some of them are objects. But regardless of what I was drawing, whether it was something I had experience with or not, by the end of it, I could draw faster. And I was drawing things faster. Like the cover, for example. I did the cover last. The cover is one of the more detailed pieces, because it's a cover, obviously. It was like 2 hours. It was not long. And so that's the thing. Use references. A lot of the times when I draw faces, I just trace the faces. So whether or not I got back into art, basically, like, I thank God for this, because I have no idea how it turned out that well. Do I have her? Maybe I'll make her the thumbnail. Yeah, I'll probably make her a thumbnail or something. Um, the first piece of, because I don't even know if I have her on this computer. Well, no, I do. I do actually. Hold on. It's like I have to have her. I made her on this computer. Of course I have her. Let me pull her up real quick. Let me pull her up. So this is she. This was the very first piece of art I did for Pirate's Guide to this guy, and it's still probably the best. At the very least, it's my personal favorite. It turned out so well, and if she did not turn out as well as she did, I would have just quit drawing, and I would have commissioned someone. I would have commissioned someone to do the art. But this turned out so well that it gave me the confidence to do everything else. And I was going to say this, but actually, I mentioned earlier, a lot of the faces I did were traced. What I did with her, I told you how AR actually helped me draw. I placed her description into an AI art generator. I generated something that gave me something that looked like her face. And I used this AI generated face, to help me get her expression right. And I used some references from the series too. Did I use any other references? No. So if she did not turn out well, I would have stopped. But she gave me that turned out so well, it gave me the confidence to keep going, and I've only gotten better. But honestly, I think that would be like, if I had a piece of advice, that'd probably be it. It's like, don't be afraid to trace. Give yourself the handicap. Don't be afraid of using handicaps. Do what you have to do. And one of the things actual artists will tell you is never draw without a reference. At this stage, I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of about tracing, if you have to. For this, I've gotten, because it's a pirate campaign, you have no idea how much wood grain I've had to draw. You have no idea how much wood grain I've had to draw. How many wooden planks I've had to draw. An incredible amount. I've had to draw so much wood. Ugh. And even then, by the time we're done with this will probably be the most effort I've put into like a floor or anything. Because this isn't near done. I'm doing some wood grain right now, and I'll probably go back and add more wood grain later. But we're also going to have to do some shading. I feel like finishing the floor is probably a good goal. So I have nothing else to work on today. I didn't stream this week. I already got my clips done. I mean, I did stream for 9 hours on Sunday, so I got my hours in. It wasn't intentional. I wasn't planning on taking the week off at all. But technically, I did meet my sort of hours quota. I got like 7 or 8 clips from that, so yeah, I kind of met my quota. Which is good. It means that in the long term, it won't set me back at all, but I just find it funny. I streamed 1 day this week, but... well, I guess 2 now. But I still met my sort of clip quota for the week. And I still have plenty of things to do. I mean, I mentioned it. I talked about those sorts of things on the... when we did the peak stream. There are a lot of things I could be doing at any given moment, and this is one of them. But I did do a lot of, get a lot of progress on some of the other thingamabobs that I've got cooking. Mentioned it on Twitter. I'll have my first ever scripted video essay. I do have another one of my like live video essays for Dispatch coming out. Since I didn't stream this week, I moved up some of my uploads, so I think it'll be coming out like the week before Thanksgiving. Christmas. I meant Christmas. The normal video essay. The other one, I don't know when it'll come out. But it's scripted. Or at least the first draft is scripted. Before I finalize it, I want to play through some of the other paths the game has and read the comics in case there's any other details I want to add, but I low-key doubt there will be, because the script is already 4 pages long. I already have like 10, 15, 20 minutes of content. And it's dense. Plus, I have no idea how long the editing is going to take. I've never edited anything longer than a minute. Now, granted, when I edit something to a minute, I'm editing it to get it less than a minute. So oftentimes it ends up. There was one clip I did. It was a compilation clip for Peak. That was like, it was actually something like 5 minutes of content that I managed to clip down to less than 1 minute, which is like an accomplishment. To be sure. But my mind's drifting. Kind of talking about what we were earlier. It's kind of one of the advantages of AR. It's like I can look at, and I know studying AI art is not as good as studying real art, obviously, but I can look at it and I can say, oh, this is again why I use references, like, oh, that's how that shape looks. Oh, that's how you color this. Oh, that's how you color that. Oh, that's the kind of shape that I want to go for. Because ultimately, I remember I had this discussion with a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he and I don't talk much anymore. Not for any reason, just because time. It's for us all in the end. But we were talking about one of the Fate games. The name is slipping me at the moment, but it was the one that came out on Switch. The one that was set in Japan. It's getting an event in FGO in January. I don't know why I can't remember it. I played through the whole thing, 100%ed it, but the game had a lot of fun. He was saying, you know, the game's very beautiful, but if you look too close, some of that starts to fall apart. And I remember I found that to be very silly, and I told him, I was like, yeah, that's true of any piece of art. Because guess what? You look at the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is just lines. It's just ink on a page. It's just brush strokes. Anyone can make a brush stroke. And it's especially true when you get into more like the cartoony art styles. Like, it's just a line. Anyone can draw a line. Like, I don't have good hands. I've got damage in my right hand. I'm not very precise. But especially with digital art, if I make a line I don't like, undo. And I can try again. Not to mention all of the tools, like ruler tool, etc. Anyone can draw a line. It's just a matter of learning how to make the line look like you want to look like what you want it to look like. And the best way to do that is to look at everyone else's lines. I find it funny that as I've been talking, the wood grain has gotten steadily more detailed. I'll have to go back and fix that. I didn't even notice. Just lines. Like, you look at this and you see wooden planks, you see wood grain. It's just lines. Just lines. The girl I showed you earlier? Just lines. Curiosity. Oh, I see the problem. Oh, I think that's one of the reasons why you'll never hear me rail against AI like a lot of artists do. I kind of get it on a certain level, because I hate AI writing. The people who use AI to write articles, I really hate that. And I think the reason I hate that more than I hate AI art is because I do consider myself a writer, I do not consider myself an artist. One of the reasons, for example, I think it was, I was talking about the idea of streaming D&D, and one of my friends was like, oh, you know, you could, worst comes to worst, you can always just do like an AI D&D type of deal. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Oh, I've just got the nativity and Jesus is missing. Well, then I guess it's not a nativity anymore, is it? Hope you find them. No, I love DMing. I will admit, because I haven't been doing much, or I haven't been streaming. Because I haven't been streaming, I haven't been clipping. I haven't had to clip. And so I've had a lot more time to listen to other people's streams and podcasts. So I did watch Doug's like AI plays D&D type of thing. It's like, that's funny. I can appreciate that. That's also what I mean when I say I would never do that except as like a one-off gag, right? Because it's a funny idea for a stream, but I would never do an AI campaign. AI can't connect with the NPCs. AI can't get invested in the plot. No? So I can kind of put myself in when I put it like that, and I put it in terms that I understand and things that affect me, then I understand it more. But my opinion on AI generation in general is that I'm perfectly fine with it as long as they're not using it for profit. Because when I use AI tokens, I used AI to generate a cover for one of my small books. It was a D&D subclass. That D&D subclass is available literally for free. It's pay what you want, technically. So you can choose to pay for it, which was only $2, or you can just take it for free. So an artist did not miss out on a commission. I wouldn't have commissioned an artist because I wouldn't have got my money back. Because it's available literally for free. But if you're using AI for profit, then you actually are robbing an artist. Like, it reminds me of like Coke did another AI generated ad this year for Christmas. And last year they did it and it was kind of cool. I didn't hate it. I wasn't against it as much because it was kind of a cool display of the technology. But if you're just going to be doing that every year now, then it bugs me. It's like, no, you should be hiring graphic artists to do this. Like, there actually is a paycheck here that someone is missing out on. When I generate AI images for my D&D game at home, no one's missing out on a profit, because I wasn't commissioning anyone. If I couldn't make the token, I would make it myself if I had time. Otherwise, I would just rip it from Google Images, because that's what I did. That's what I did before AI Gen was a thing. I ripped images. I ripped images from Google Images. Support artists, support small business. Yeah. Honestly, the only real problem I have with AI is just AI gen like porn. And not just that, but anything that uses images of real people. Because obviously, I mean, celebrities especially, you have images of them online, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But the thing about AI is it's gotten to the point where you're using people's likenesses without permission. And that is potentially dangerous for a lot of reasons, whether it's privacy reasons, whether it's misinformation. As it gets better, it's going to continue to be a problem. That's my issue with AI generated content in general. It's just the privacy violations. Because, yeah, like, I have, hours and hours and hours of content online. Someone could rip my voice, cause me to say something I didn't say, and then say, hey, West of Lord said this, but I didn't say that. And it's a thin line. It's like, yeah, I want to be able to create, Morgan Freeman saying funny things in an AI Morgan Freeman says funny things. I think that's funny, but also I'm not even offended by people if people were to do that sort of thing as a joke, but then when you start getting into... Yeah. I think the short answer is there needs to be we've invented a new technology, and the fact that we've invented a new technology means we need to invent new crimes in the law book. We need to create new crimes to describe the sort of things that some people are choosing to use this technology for. In the same way that the invention of cars meant the invention of driving laws, the invention of AI also needs the invention of AI laws to regulate its use. People don't use it in the wrong ways. There are going to be some libertarians who get rubbed the wrong way by that. They can stuff it. Libertarianism is the political philosophy of cowards. Ah, yes. I know how to fix the problem. Let's do absolutely nothing and let it sort itself out, because that's always worked. Ironically, in some cases, that actually is the solution, but it's usually only the solution for, like, economic things and social issues. But the reason for that is because the economy is just people. The economy is people. The economy is people buying and selling goods from one another. In order that they can survive and thrive and flourish. And that's going to sort itself out if you leave it alone, because people want to survive and they want to thrive and they want to flourish. And so people are going to alter the economy via supply and demand. However, they need to in order to survive and thrive and live a life that they want. And so that problem does actually fix itself, more or less. But even then, not always. And even then, there are things the government can do to help. It's just a lot of things the government does to try to help doesn't work. So I can sympathize with the sentiment of everything the government doesn't work, therefore we should just get the government out of everything. And I would actually agree. Most fronts. But also, let's not cut off our nose to spite our face. Politicians says, hey, let's do X economic policy, and X economic policy is something that would work, then you would support it. Even if, in general, you think the government should stay out of it. Because the real issue is not policies, the real issue is bureaucracy. The real issue is trying to put people who know nothing about a subject in charge of the subject, whether it's healthcare or the economy or whatever else. But we're not even talking about something like that. If the government is incapable of administering justice and ensuring that justice is done, then it has failed in one of its essential purposes. Refusal to fix those problems would be justification in throwing out the entire system. A government which cannot protect its citizens is a government which does not deserve to exist, fundamentally. Excuse me. Stretch. I forgot to do a live alert. Oh well. It don't matter. Something that's also cool about doing these drawing streams is this I'm using, I think it's just called Sketchbook, I think, on Chromebook. It actually has a record feature. It has a record feature, and so you can record time lapses and things like that. The last software I used actually did that automatically, which was really nice. So I could just like rewatch a time lapse. The issue is that if you created a duplicate and worked off the duplicate, it would also duplicate the time lapse. And so if I just created a duplicate for the sake of using the same format or whatever, I would have to rewatch the redrawing of the entire thing. Like, for example, I made this boat has 3 or 4 floors, depending on how you count it. And so, of course, I duplicated them so I could save the same, like, bottom layer. So I wouldn't have to remake the floor every single time, like I'm doing now. would have to remake the floor. But for the later ones, I would have to rewatch the time lapse of me making the above floor at the same time, which is just ridiculous. Because this boat was the largest, I think it still is technically the largest single art project I've ever done. We'll see whether this one comes close, because I think this whole project took somewhere between 20 and 40 hours total. This one may end up being something similar, but I've also improved a lot, so... And it's not 3 floors, it's just one room with a few characters in it. So we'll see. We will see. Technically, if you count the book as one big project, then the other book would be the largest art project. There's like 60 art pieces, and each art piece took somewhere between 1 and 4 hours. Like, I've already been on this one for 2.5, and we've just been doing a floor this whole time. I mean, I guess if you exclude the sketching, it's maybe closer to an hour and a half. Or just an hour. But even then, for this, the sketching is kind of an integral part of the process. As I mentioned earlier, I don't normally do rough sketches like that. It's just this is such a massive scene, I need to make sure I have all the boxes checked before I do it. The only other time I did a sketch was for a sketch of... I can probably show her real quick. I don't remember if I've showed her as a part of my weekly advertisement, which now that I'm remembering it, I haven't done this week, so I'll need to do that after this. Here she is. So this was the only one I did a rough sketch for. Let's see if the rough sketch is still here. I may have deleted the layer. Let's see. It looks like I did? Nope, there it is. And I did one rough sketch, and this was it. That little goober you see there, that was it. That's the only, that was the rough sketch. And the only reason I did it was to make sure that the perspective matched up and that it looked right. That the pose looked right and natural. That's the... I'll leave that there. That's the only time I've done a rough sketch up to this point, and it wasn't much of a sketch. That's it. Everything else was just drawn. Farewell. This is also like, I don't really need to add that much detail back there. Like a spell. Yeah, it's true. I did add more grain as I went along. There's so much more grain on the right side than on the left. Oh, goodness. Go back and add some here. Especially, like, you're important. Yeah, art streams have become more regular. As well, there's this, obviously. I'm currently working on scheduling a session 0 for a one-shot that will advertise Pirate's Guide to the Sky, the book I mentioned earlier, the book that the girl I showed was both, actually, all the other art pieces I've shown are from. The one-shot is set for January. I'm arranging it now, trying to dodge holiday busyness. And the other reason that I'm doing the one-shot in January, when the one-shot is planned for February, is because I plan to draw the player characters. Because I said this before, if I ever did a D&D stream, I would have to... I know I would have to draw the tokens for major NPCs. It also means I probably wouldn't have as many custom tokens as in my home game. For that reason. I probably just have to rip things either from actual One Piece or just other sources. Because I know that, well, I mentioned earlier, if you're doing something for profit, I think you should avoid using AI. So, and sort of B, I know that if I did, whether I used time as an excuse or whether I used poverty as an excuse, I know people would throw a hissy fit if I used AI. That's just not worth it. Because to be clear, it's like I would rather draw every character myself, but I'm one man. I only have so much time. Luckily, there are certain types of art projects that I find pretty relaxing, so I can do them more often, because it also counts as rest. Ami! Welcome! You came just in time for Floor! I hope you love woodgrain! You get woodgrain! You get woodgrain! Everyone gets woodgrain! Delicious chocolate floor. So to give you, I'll paint you a picture on me, literally. So what we're doing is I'm drawing a poster for my friends, and this is what it'll look like when it's done. This is the rough sketch we're dealing with. So this is what it'll be when it's done, but one thing at a time. And right now, the one thing is the floor. Which luckily, I think we're basically finished with woodgrain. which means now we can move to shading. Let's see how small this is. Yeah, that's right. That's what I want. All right. I should have done this much earlier, but I am a dummy. So. Ooh, let's do this. Magical wand. Magic. That work? No, I missed it. I missed it. Almost. Well, I guess we can just move that down. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Yeah, so there'll definitely be, well, there'll be art streams for this, however long this takes to be done. However long this takes to be done, God only knows. Um... art streams for this, however long this takes. There has to be an easier way to do this. Oh, crud. The wrong layer. Okay. Here, I'm gonna be right back. I need to... I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a way I can do this that wouldn't be miserable. Might be this way I can do it. Oh, I forgot to do the middle row. Whoops. But yeah, so there'd be art streams for this, however long this takes. And then art streams for the one shot to draw player characters. And then if that did well enough, so now this falls on you guys, if that did well enough, then I would probably have at least a few more. Up my sleeve, as it were. Because if I then turned around and did a actual campaign, like a podcast type of deal, then I'd have to draw a lot more. But then I don't know how long I would be drawing a lot more. I don't know if I would stream those or not. Probably? I feel like I probably would if people liked the drawing streams. But the only reason I wouldn't was because I wouldn't want to spoil people. Like here, I'm drawing the next big character that's gonna show up. Or I'm drawing the next location they're gonna visit. You see what I mean? It's kind of like I'm kind of spoiling at that point. I don't like that. That's why I say I don't know how many. I don't know how many is in my future generally, or even specifically. I'm not an artist, so it's not like it would ever be like, oh, we're working on commissions today. I'm not a good enough artist to commission. I don't think I ever will be. I'm a fool. I didn't need to do all this. I'm a fool. How can I make this easier for my Doi? Do that. Why these guys? We do that, and then what we do, we decrease the opacity. There is also, I want to do this. I thought the color difference was too sharp. Although actually, that would be... we can, it may be more of a 3D effect with that. Maybe. Still a little rough. Anyway. Oh. A little bit of shading. This is partly experimental, so we'll see. I might want to switch to pen. Yeah, that looks better. Becoming worried about how it's like myself out. Always gonna happen. I need my beverage, my Beppis. Let's get Beppis. Yeah, Beppis. No idea when my Christmas tree. It feels like we get it later every year. No, some of that's because I like to keep it a family affair. I want to make sure everyone's there for it. Besides, we also get live tree too. So you have to take like its lifespan into account. You know, you can't get it like a month in advance. It'll be dead for Christmas. I'm gonna see the rain. I have the video pulled up for the lo-fi. It's got like rain and storms, and sometimes I look over at it and I'm like, oh boy, what is chat flying? Obviously not. 3 hours. 3-hour floor speed run any percent. Lord of mercy. I joked about how I've drawn so much good wood grain. I've never drawn this much. And this probably won't even be the last of it. I'll probably go back later. Maybe add some more detail. Depends on how degree to which I'm satisfied. Because, you know, this isn't for me, and it's not just for my book, it's for my friends. The first characters and the first campaign we played together, and the campaign we've been playing together for a long time. There's a lot of sentimentality. It's like watching paint dry, but it's more entertaining and wholesome. Well, I'm glad it's more entertaining and wholesome. I'm glad you would rather watch me sketch a floor than watch paint dry. You know how to make a man blush. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I should do more of that. I like teardrop. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, I like that. I like that. All right. That's good. That's good. Literally half of my drawing journey has just been, let's try drawing this and see what happens. Oh, I like that. Let's draw more of that. Let's do more of that. Hey, I like that. Let's do more of it. Which is exactly what I mean when I talk about, you know, you just get better by doing it. Yo, I really like that. Let's keep doing that. Try not to go overboard with it. Oh, there we are. Whew, my hand's cramping up. Oh, you can hear that too. You guys can, I saw that pick up on the mic. Funny. Yeah, even if I wanted to keep going after finishing, I'd probably have to stop and rest. That's what he said, anyway. That was... There goes the wholesomeness. Wholesomeness vibe is ruined. I couldn't resist. It's too good. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this teardrop shape. See, it's also the kind of thing I'm talking about. Well, I think I already said that, but I've drawn a lot of wood grain this project. The projects I've done lately. I've never experimented with like this teardrop pattern. But it looks good. Good. It's also another case of doing it more later. But you can tell, like, as we go right, I'm doing it more and more and more. Just like I did with the initial wood grain. I don't know why I do that. A headset, get some Beppis. Probably have to rest anyway. I can feel my eyes straining. So once I end stream, I'll probably take a shower to probably take a shower, rest my eyes. Especially since, you know, it's getting dark now. Rest my eyes from the blue light, I mean. I'm not going to the shower to fall asleep. I think Persona 3 has more bangers than Persona 4 does, but Persona 4 definitely is better music overall. Like, if you told me I could only listen to one Persona song for the rest of my life, it would probably be Sky Reach Out to Moon from Persona 3. But if you told me I could only have one album, probably more. Weird in that way. Although who knows? We'll see. They're doing the remake now, so who knows? Maybe the remake, because I prefer the Persona 3 Reload tracks to the original. Maybe the remake will change my mind. And some of the songs I only like into bangers. Lotus Juice Cookbook, that's for sure. I did it again. I added more woodgrain. I did it again. I added more woodgrain to that board than I did the previous one. Why am I like this? Why am I doing this? There's enough grain here to kill the gluten intolerant. Already. And if this seems like a lot to you, remember there's still walls and a ceiling to do as well. So we're not going to be done with this for a while. At least what we can probably do is I can probably just mirror. And so I shouldn't have to draw multiple. I should only have to draw one wall. And then we'll use digital perspective tools to copy and paste that wall and make it fit the perspective of all three walls, the back wall and the side walls. Just looking. Ah. Bum, 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 bum. Miserable. Bum, 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 bum. Never felt like different now. Not a fool. Be. Baby. Oh. Future. If you hold me up, yeah, it's so good. This last. You hold me in the. Thinking. Oh, package of mine got delivered. Earlier than expected. The website told me it was going to be, well, by December. Oh. Ow. did I start with the middle one? Color your color my night. Color your night. I didn't recognize it. I was like, I vaguely recognized it. The lo-fi version is very different. Ooh. Days ahead of us, put your hands up. Color your night's another banger. What's the name of it? Interim. Battle track. Which name I currently cannot remember. It's a banger, but I'd probably have fonder memories of it if there were literally any other battle music in the main game. Disturbing the peace, there we are. Pussy battles, pussy babbles. Battles, pussy babbles. Everything's good, blabbing about me behind my back. And it's down. Going down now, that's disturbing. Those are songs I actually do in like a Spotify playlist. I will just listen to them. Love this. Like that's the difference between Persona 3 music or Persona 4 music. Persona 4 music I'll put on a playlist and listen to working. Persona 3 music I have just a few songs that I'll listen to them are this is Color Your Night. To me, talking to myself. I had an idea, but I think trying to think of a way I could get more of a gradient the floorboards, but it may not even matter. Yeah, I'm trying to get more of a gradient for the floor, but the reality is no one's going to be looking at it. It's another thing to keep in mind. You know, you don't want to waste a bunch of time, let's say, having spent 3 hours drawing the floor, on details that other people aren't going to be. You want to be good, but there are aspects of a composition where you can always afford to be a little finicky, or times when I was mentioning earlier, where sometimes less is more. There's one piece of art that's going to be in the book where I couldn't get the stone texture to look right, and the way I got the stone texture to look right is I just added less texture. Just draw bits and pieces here and there, and then the brain figures, just kind of fills in the details. Another example would be the Gleep Glorp emote we have. Gleep Glorp is wearing a crucifix. The crucifix has only like 3 shapes. But from those 3 shapes, your mind fills in the shape of the crucified Jesus. I was really proud of that. Such a cool detail to me. Because I would look at it and be like, they think I drew a whole freaking crucifix, but I just drew like 3 shapes. That is another thing that, especially as I've like watched more artists on YouTube and done more art myself, like the one thing that AI art can never recreate is just the little details that you throw in there. Like, for example, there's a smiley face. That smiley face is going to stay there. No one will ever see it or know that it's there, but I'll know that it's there. That little detail is going to be swallowed up by the whole detail. I mean, if I zoom out to here, you can't even really see it. I don't have to zoom out very far before it disappears entirely. And it's going to disappear even more once we get perspective. There are a bunch of little details that you kind of throw in there just for fun. And they can't really be recreated. I'm thinking about Gleepglorp, and of course I'm thinking about the crucifix that I was just talking about, but I'm also thinking about the fact that she's wearing a rosary necklace. And I made the beads of that necklace look like planets. The light is reflecting off of them in the shape of planets. And that's a detail probably 90+% of people wouldn't notice just looking at it, cursory glance. There are always like little tiny details like that. Because the one thing I disagree with when it comes to like the whole AI art versus AI writing debate, and again I am biased because I'm a writer, not an artist, right? But I use AI art for home projects, home D&D games, stuff like that. There actually is creativity. I would never call myself an AI artist, because that's cringe. And anyone who calls himself by that label is cringe. But you know, I still created the character. I still created the prompt. You know, there's still creativity there. It's just not drawing creative. It took creativity to come up with the character that is being put in the prompt. Whereas basically all I'm doing is, functionally, it's not any different than hiring an artist to draw something for me. I still had the idea, I'm just having the artist draw it on my behalf. But if you use the AI to write, then you haven't come up with anything at all. Except maybe a vague idea. So if I say, hey AI, generate an image from this movie I wrote, there's more I'm still being creative, I'm just not drawing. But if I say, hey AI, generate a movie, there's no creativity in it. And so, thinking of like, for example, like the Will Stancil show, I would call the Will Stancil show art, even though the animation is done by AI, but the writing is not, and the writing is what people enjoy about it. If it was animated by real people, the end result would only be better, it would only improve. If it was drawn by real people, it would be not only just as funny, it would probably be even more funny. Because the writing would still be there, and there'd be probably little, just like that little smiley face I added, there'd be little details to art that the animators would laugh about. Things that you don't get when an AI does it. And so she still created the show, she just didn't animate. Whereas I think if you did the opposite, I think if you had AI generate a prompt and then had people animate it, I think that's less artistic. The animation is art, but the movie isn't. If that makes sense. If you wrote an AI generated movie and then you had people physically animate it, that's not an artful movie. Because what makes a movie is the writing, not necessarily the animation or the cinematography. Cinematography might be good, the cinematography might be artistic, but it's still a bad movie. Like, I could say that about specifically The Last Jedi. I was telling my family this story the other day. When I walked out of The Last Jedi in theaters, because I saw it with some friends of mine, they all hated it instantly. I did not hate it instantly. I did eventually come to hate it as I reflected on it and thought more about it. But when I first walked out of the theater, I wasn't thinking about how terrible the story was, or about the way they butchered Luke Skywalker's character. I was thinking about how beautiful the movie. Last Jedi had gorgeous cinematography. I would say better cinematography than either of the other two movies in the sequel trilogy. But it's still a bad movie. It's great cinematography. It's great CGI. I think about The Force Awakens. Force Awakens had great fight choreography, but it's still a bad movie. Whereas, if something is written by people but animated by AI, it's the opposite, right? It's bad animation. It's bad animation, but it's not a bad movie. It's just bad animation. Because it was still created by people. It was written by people, and then the writing was put into a prompt that then animated the writing into something visual. But it was still created by people. It was created by people because what was written was created by people, and then it was put into an AI that was also created by people for the purpose of turning what the people put into it into a movie. And so it's still people all the way down. It's just... what would you say? It's just the post-editing that's done robotically. But it's still written by people. It's still made by people. And so this isn't a defense or anything. I still stand by what I said earlier. I disagree fundamentally with using AI for profit. That's also why, like the Will Stancil show is available for free. It's like, I don't care that it's made by AI. I would prefer that it wasn't, and maybe someday she will have the money to produce her own adult comedy. To produce her own adult comedy with real animators. I hope she does. Because in that I can see myself. You know, using AI to generate the cover of one of my D&D subclasses that are available for sale on DriveThruRPG. Because I didn't have the money to hire an artist, or the skills to make it myself. But obviously, if I did have the skills to make it myself, or the money to commission an artist, I would just do that. But I don't. And so I sympathize with people who have a vision and are just trying to bring that vision to life, but don't have the means to make it high quality. Like, you work with what you have, and sometimes all you have is AI. This thing is, like, I could see myself in theory, like, using AI to generate a pilot for a show I might want to produce, or a book I might want to write. Just to make a pilot. Not an actual thing, but just to make a pilot. Because the pilot would be available for free. I wouldn't make a profit off of the pilot, necessarily. And if I did make a profit off the pilot, it would go towards actually making a show with real animators. But the whole point of the pilot is that I don't have money to hire animators. If I had money to hire animators, I'd just hire the animators and make it. I wouldn't bother with the pilot. Right? Like, time and place, right? Time and place. Because one of the things I love is I've always been a creative person. I've always had these creative visions for things I wanted to make, but I never felt like I had the skills to bring them to life, and I'm lucky. And I'm very grateful that I'm starting to develop those skills, but it's one of the things I loved about AI art when it first really hit the scene is like, holy crow, all these ideas that I've had in my head for ages but never been able to put on paper, I can put it on paper now. Keeping your creativity is better than people using AI with their creativity, yeah. Because like it or not, and most people don't, AI is a tool, and it is a creative tool. And it does have purposes. And we can talk about what those purposes are or should be. That's an entirely open discussion. I'm not attempting to close out that discussion, but I think we need to admit that there is a discussion. It's kind of like, I remember, it's one of those stupid, probably ironically to this conversation, AI-generated posts. I hate AI-generated Twitter posts. You can always tell that they're AI because they're always like nonsensical and half relevant to whatever they're posting. Like, this British politician had this really interesting idea that there'd be no gun violence if you removed all the guns. Now, as interesting an idea as that is, let's dissect it. It's like, you're an AI, I can tell. That's not a serious proposition. But it raises two problems. First of all, you can't uninvent something. AI is here, which means it's not going to go anywhere. You can't uninvent the wheel. It exists now. You may not want it to exist, but it's going to exist. So, how you choose to use it, and how society broadly should use it, that is now on the table for debate. And getting rid of AI is not on the table. That's not going to happen. It's just not. It reminds me of just like, you ban guns, what happens? Like, if you banned guns, people wouldn't shoot people. No one would get shot. It's like, yes, they would. They'd get shot with bows and arrows. Okay, we get rid of the bows and arrows. Okay, now they're slashing each other with swords and knives and machetes. Okay, we get rid of all the knives and machetes. Okay, now they're stabbing each other with spears. Okay, we get rid of all the spears. Okay, now they're beating each other to death with clubs. Okay, we get rid of the clubs. Okay, now they're just beating each other to death with whatever they can get their hands on. We remove literally everything, and we put everyone in cushioned rooms with nothing in them, and everything's nailed down. Okay, now they're beating each other to death with their bare hands. Because the problem of gun violence is not a problem of guns, it's a problem of violence. The question is not how do we get rid of guns, the question is how do we get rid of violence. And the same question is with AI. The problem with AI is not that it's not creative. The problem with AI is that people are using it uncreatively. So how do we solve the problem of a lack of creativity? How do we encourage people to use these tools? These tools exist, and they can't not exist because they already exist now. So what can we do to encourage people to use them in good ways as opposed to bad ways? Using AI art to promote a creative project that doesn't have a lot of funding versus using AI art to promote the most lucrative soda brand in the world. Using AI to patch over some minor details in a much larger piece of art, that'd be really freaking tedious and not at all worth the effort, versus using AI art to do literally everything. AI generation to use literally everything. So it's a discussion, and let's not and it's not a discussion. There should be watermarks for images and videos generate something, though, because there's a danger that social media... I 100% agree. That is one of the reforms I would support, would be mandating AI watermarks. Not watermarks, but you can pay to have them removed, just mandating it. Like, this is AI generated, and you cannot, for legal reasons, you cannot remove this watermark. Now, realistically, people could still, like, edit it out, but then you make that a crime. You say it's a crime to edit out the watermarks for AI videos. And I think that arguably might be a first step. Reason being that when we talk about regulating privacy, regulating irregular uses and immoral uses, like, for example, pornography, fake news, stuff like that, if there is a watermark, first of all, if we know it's AI generated and it doesn't have a watermark, then we know it was removed. But if we can trace it back to which AI generated the model, then we know who to sue, right? So if someone were to use your likeness against your will for something depraved or debauched, and someone posts that online, then you know which generator made it, you know who to sue, you know who to go after. I don't think there's an argument against that. At least I don't have an argument against that, because it's true. I generate AI images for home and wholesome purposes. And so, yeah, I don't want to see a watermark on the pictures that I generated for just my own viewing. But also, what do I lose? I don't lose anything. I already believe that AI shouldn't be used for paid product, for profit, for getting profit. So I'm not really hurt by that. It's an inconvenience at worst. People can say it'd be hard to prove, but people don't realize there's a metadata behind every image. That's true. That is also true. And so, legally requiring watermarks and metadata to allow us to trace those things back? Absolutely. Like, I support that 100%. I don't want to, because like, I don't want to linger on it for obvious reasons, but AI debauchery can be very addictive, and it's very problematic. And it really needs to be nipped in the bud. It is a unique problem. Like, if I could wave a wand, if I had 2 buttons, and one button got rid of all seditious videos on the internet, and the other one, and this is like, it made it, not only did it destroy, it destroyed it in all times forever. None of it, it doesn't exist anywhere ever. Versus making it so that seditious AI doesn't exist anywhere ever in all of human history. I would choose the second one, absolutely. The second one seems so much more dangerous than video. As a rule, it's just like the more senses it appeals to, the more personalized it is, the more seditious it is, the more awful it is for morals and for health. Like, it's really bad. It's probably killing the brains and the libido of half of Gen Alpha, and we don't even know it. And it's kind of low-key shocking. Because, yeah, Gen X doesn't get it. Of course they don't. It's basically impossible to talk about, like, things I would potentially want for Christmas or just in general with my parents or my grandparents, because they don't understand. If I say I want, like, a Steam controller, they don't know what a Steam controller is. They don't know what Steam is. If I say I want a freaking audio editing thing, they don't know what that is. I barely know what it is. But millennials really don't have an excuse. Should be basically done. Let's see how this looks. First, I'm going to create a copy. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, shoot. Oh, you need to tell me these things. That's... Ugh. It's broken. How long has it been broken? How long has it been broken? Tell me these things, chat. Oh, it's stopped working. Did something come unplugged? I think when I stood up to go to the bathroom or something, it might have come slightly unplugged. Might be the problem. Hold on. It's not coming back. I'm tangled in... Oh, there it is. Yeah. Also, like, literally hanging off gravity. That's not helping. Tried and true, unplug it and plug it back in. Screen's flickering, so I know that it's sensing the USB connection, the HDMI connection. There it is. There we go. There we go. So that's what we were working towards this whole time. And there's probably, I see like some additional details I can add to help with the shading. Kind of sepia-ish. Oh yeah. It's weird because it's not like that on mine. Hold on. Okay, that should fix it. It's because it's on night light mode. There we go. Yeah, so I'll probably add some shading later. Try and give it more depth. I tried to do that, but it clearly did not turn out very well. At least in that regard. So I'll go back and try to give it some more depth. So the floor is not done, I guess, is the short of it. Even after 4 hours, the floor is not done. Which gives you an idea of the timetable we're working with. Well, just it came off looking flat, and you can tell I tried to give it a little bit of depth, but that is not working. So I'll have to do some experimenting, adding depth, but that might be something we do later. Because we still have, 4 other walls to do. That's something I can probably do. Is we can do this. See, we can give it a little. Floor and ceiling. And there's going to be some more details on the ceiling. Here, let's actually do this. Control Z. Going way out of. Floor and ceiling. There we go. The walls are horizontal, not vertical, so that's why we can't just do that, right? The walls are horizontal. So. But we do, well, hold on. Hold on, we do have that. We do have this. We do have this. Let's see. We do have that. Arguably works just fine. Where it would work just fine, except I put that in the wrong layer. That needs its own layer. Let's also put it underneath. That also removes some of the pressure. It's not bad, but I think what I want to do... A fireplace, I see what you're talking about. I think what I want to do is let's do this. What that's going to do is that's going to make it much smaller. Because it crops out everything that's not in the image. See, that looks much more reasonable. But can I, Is that too big? Or instead of a log cabin, I guess you'll be on a ship. Yes, we are literally on a ship. Here, let's... How big do we want that? It looks about right. Uh, whole thing. Maybe a little raft too, or just the porthole. Yeah, it's just the porthole. There's a part of me that wants to change things to make it a bit more, less. What I'm looking for. Less uniform, but realistically, I think there's going to be. I can always change stuff later. But to be so uniform is the problem. Yeah, so I definitely have to go in and add some more depth, but that will. It's definitely a foundation to build on. Hopefully I won't. Well. Some things can always be mirrored. Like I can mirror the porthole window since they have to match each other. Also means anything I do on one side of the room I can mirror on the other side. The issue is would just be the ceiling and the floor would have to be manual. The good news about the ceiling though is that the ceiling is going to have some extra details. There's specifically like a skylight here basically. So that's going to be inching into the ceiling. But otherwise, we've made a lot of progress. And I think especially being able to see like I might add some additional details, especially on the back wall. Like maybe some newspaper clippings or something. A map is not a bad idea, except that actually this is what they're gonna. This down here, it's not a map, it's a board game, but it's specifically Ticket to Ride, so it's gonna have a map on it. Like the left and right walls, though, are covered for decoration. Just the back wall that might need some extra stuff. But also, there's going to be wanted posters. That's what these are here. That's what these are in the center. Maybe I'll throw in some newspaper clippings. Um, there's also going to be like door frames. Obviously, there's just doors right now. There's going to be door frames, so that'll help pop things a little bit. Otherwise, I'll have to think. I definitely want to finish the room first, but I also don't want to obsess over adding depth to the ceiling and the floor and the walls when most of the walls are going to be covered up. So I think it's wiser to wait. I think it's going to be wiser to wait and do that after we've done all the other decorations first. That talking fish. Big mouth Billy Bass. You might throw in a big mouth Billy Bass. I guess we'll just see how it looks by the end of it. Also, I might try to change the colors a little bit. I don't know. It's not that I don't like them. Curiosity. Let's look at wouldn't mind making these a little warmer. I'm just trying to think. I wouldn't mind. I want... Ooh. I do kind of like the upped contrast. I do kind of like the upped contrast. What we might do... Oh, the music tapped out just in time. I might do some experimentation with that later, but because I'm not going to add any more details really to the floors or the walls or anything, I think I want to decorate the scene first. We can decorate the scene first and then experiment with different colors later. Because we don't want to accidentally create things that are too clashing or anything like that. Because that would be my fear. My fear would be creating... There's a lot of browns, right? If I just pull this up, there's a lot of browns. The chairs are brown, the table's brown, the wanted posters are going to be brown. There's a lot of brown in this scene. The posters on the wall over here are brown. And so I want to make sure everything stands out. And right now, these colors actually give us a pretty... Not only are they accurate to the scene, like that's the color palette I used, but they also give us plenty to work with a lot of these lighter and more saturated browns. So we'll see. But I think it's smarter to draw the scene out first, and then we can potentially experiment with saturation and brightness later. Because there's also going to be other things. Like there's going to be light coming through the windows and such. So that's going to be something to think about too. But this has been 4 hours. Definitely longer. Well, it took longer than I thought it would. It took longer, that's for sure. None of my friends are streaming today, so I don't think there's anyone to raid, really. So I guess we'll just... Here, let's do one more thing, though. No, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I don't want to do it right now. I'm too tired. I want a break. I want a break right now. That's what I... So otherwise, I guess we'll just run ads and um go. I don't know if I'll be streaming Metaphor tomorrow. For argument's sake, let's say I will be, but I don't know. Because I don't know what my family may or may not have planned tomorrow. I just have no idea. And because I also have no idea if we're going to be in cutscene hell or how much free time we might have. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't want to get in a place where I'm stuck and I'm not able to quit, but I need to quit the game. I'm not addicted to anything. Except maybe Pepsi. But I don't want to be put in cutscene hell and not be able to stop when I need to for the sake of my family or whatever else. That's my fear. So I guess we'll just have to see with that. But otherwise, my family that's here should be leaving next week, so we'll be able to go back to a normal schedule. Shouldn't have anything interfering with that. So otherwise, I'll run ads and say goodnight. Guys on the flip side.